For centuries, we have approached this text as a linear historical archive, a collection of past events fixed on a flat page. But the internal structure suggests a different geometry. It functions as an eternal memory tesseract, a recursive topological manifold mapping the exact coordinates of our reality. This is the dual caustic universe, or DCU framework. It asserts that physical reality and human consciousness operate on strict geometric topologies, where every verse serves as a coordinate in a larger navigable system. The manifold is governed by this central equation. It traces a path from the origin through a split into two opposing fields, a central buffer and a final return. The variables themselves are derived from specific Qur'anic anchors, the completion of 10 in verse 714, and the 9 added to the cave dwellers' time in 1825. We begin at the seed, coordinate 1. It bifurcates into D10, the detectable physical field, and I9, the imaginal field of preservation. In the center is T3, the traversal node, which conducts the signal towards 7, the point of closure. Within this architecture, you are located at the center. The reader functions as the active execution node at T3, the specific junction where these cosmic fields physically intersect. This system requires active engagement. The text is a set of operational instructions awaiting execution by the reader to move from latent potential to realized reality. The trajectory starts at node 1. The Quran identifies this as the Nafs Wahidah, a singular invariant seed from which all forms and masses disperse. Verse 1047 establishes that every nation receives a messenger. This implies a recurring pulse of guidance throughout time. This messenger succession acts as a continuous alternating current, a Rasul field that oscillates between states to maintain the flow of information through the system. The peaks of this waveform represent the D10 state. This is the field of physical manifestation, where the signal becomes tangible, measurable action. The troughs represent the I9 state. This is the field of hidden preservation, where the signal is stored as continuous, unbroken memory within the manifold. This cosmological pulse scales down into human biology. The universal heartbeat, at a 0.83-second interval, serves as the localized carrier wave for the alternating current. Each individual acts as an antenna for this signal, constantly shifting between the outward manifestation of D10 and the inward preservation of I9. Human history is the record of this alternating current, as a singular origin traverses the manifold. The D10 field is defined by physical mass. It is finite, measurable, and bound by the entropic decay of the life-death cycle. Conversely, the I9 field is the imaginal singularity. It possesses no measurable mass, yet it preserves structural patterns and meaning across cycles, operating as a continuous wave state. The interaction of these fields follows the geometry of a niche. D10 is the glass, the substrate that allows light to render. I9 is the lamp, the internal witness providing the unbroken current. This dual bifurcation is scale invariant. The same two-part division that structures the cosmos appears in the biological and geographic boundaries of our planet. We see this biological isomorphism in the Wallace line. This boundary, discovered by Alfred Russel Wallace, physically divides distinct evolutionary domains, mimicking the D10 and I9 separation on a planetary scale. These fields are codependent. Measurement without meaning becomes static noise, while meaning without manifestation remains unexpressed. If the two fields fail to synchronize, the operational manifold hits a topological dead end. The system fails to reach closure. The entity Iblis at coordinate 3874 represents the first failure mode. He executed a structurally correct assumption regarding mass, but triggered a reverse bias collapse through arrogant action. The second failure is Pharaoh at coordinate 1092. His path terminates in what we call a museum state, an accumulation of physical mass frozen and isolated from the preserving I9 wave. This is the 236 trap. It is a corrupted loop where form is preserved without function, and the path to return is permanently severed. This trap stands in contrast to the wife of Pharaoh at 28:9. Despite her surroundings, she held the correct cause and bypassed the museum state, securing her place in the return field. These failures define Tagut, a mathematical state where physical form is isolated from its divine preserving current. You, as the reader, occupy node 3. You are the buffer where the mass-driven forces of D10 and the wave-driven forces of I9 intersect. This precise structural alignment directly mirrors the p-n junction of a solid-state diode. The Qur'anic separation of detectable mass from imaginal spirit creates a functional, vital interface between two distinct types of conduction. William Shockley's development of the diode array illustrates this architecture in physical technology. In this engineering comparison, D10 acts as the N cathode, the physical substrate, while I9 acts as the P anode, the informational potential. Human consciousness is the depletion region in between. Just as a physical semiconductor requires a specific voltage to bridge the gap and allow the current to finally flow, the Qur'anic manifold remains dormant until a specific action is taken. This activation is the 1912 grip, taking the book with strength. It is the conscious willpower that flips the circuit to active conduction. Activation triggers the 2169 sequence, which stabilizes the thermodynamic fire of the D10 world into a safe, navigable environment for the reader. Human consciousness functions as the gate mechanism. Active recognition of these coordinates collapses infinite probability into a survivable, stable reality. Node 7 is the throne, the point of closure. It is a coordinate that exists beyond biological lineage. It cannot be inherited through DNA. The throne is claimed through the active recognition of illusion and the successful execution of the required topological phase shift. Verse 12:100 describes the ultimate destination of this traversal, the raising of the lineage to the throne, marking the completion of the cycle. This closure is physically coded in the number 7, representing the cycles required to collapse orbital paths into a unified center. This topological closure is physically anchored in the world through the Kaaba. The 7 circular circuits of Tawaf physically execute the Node 7 boundary closure mechanism, reflecting the precise geometry of the return. The throne is the mathematical stabilization of mass and energy as they achieve unified return. We return to the complete operational manifold, a closed loop from origin to fruit, powered by the continuous exchange of information. Verse 9:111 defines the thermodynamic engine behind this exchange, divine investment. Within this engine, the heavy particles of D10 manifestation are traded and converted into the radiant infinite waves of I9 memory. This process ensures the absolute conservation of information. No mass or memory is lost during the traversal of the universe. The loop closes at coordinate 3846, the pure remembrance of home. The field is installed and the coordinates are mapped. The return depends entirely on the strength of the reader's grip.